let's try this again. So, we're coming into the divisional round. 4 games, 4 good games. Should be a good weekend. Don't have to block off your entire weekend this week. But let's go through it. Last week, just to recap, not a great week. Went 2-4. Ended up being minus 1.5 units because of the half unit plays we had. If you're checking the website, really the Steelers just ruined the weekend for me. Uh, I don't think anybody saw the 3 turnovers coming in the first quarter, and really once you turn the ball over 3 times and you're in a 28-0 hole going into the second quarter, that's about it. It's really hard to come out of that. And the under got ruined because of that. The entire game plan and what I thought, as well as I'm assuming what the Steelers thought they were gonna do, just totally went out the window. But enough of that. Let's move on. We'll keep going into this next week. Hopefully, less surprises and more money in our pocket. So I'm just gonna go game by game. First one here is the Rams and the Packers. I'm sure you've heard by now. Goff has a robot thumb at this point. He's going to be playing in the frozen tundra that is Green Bay. He's gonna really struggle. If you saw last week, he struggled missing a lot of throws. He looked like he was even wincing a couple times making the throws. Cam Akers is amazing. He's a great running back. Somebody keep an eye on if you're gonna play fantasy next year. Um, he's just a great piece on the offense, and McVay loves him. They love to run the ball. It's awesome. The Packers, on the other hand, really struggle stopping the run. So I think you're going to have some success there. If you're playing daily fantasy, Cam Akers is a guy I'm really trying to get into my lineups. He's a guy that helped me win last week in some daily matchups. Um, but aside from daily, really, that's about the extent of what the Rams have. Yes, they do have Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp and a couple other guys, but those weapons are really hard to use if you don't have a quarterback that can move the ball, especially in frigid temperatures. So let's just kind of key in on Cam Akers for right now. The Packers, yes, the theme of the year has been they can't stop the run. But if you look back to their last 2 games of the regular season, they were able to hold Derrick Henry and David Montgomery to less than 100 yards each. At the same time, in both of those games, they more than doubled their opponent's score. So that tells me that, yes, the Packers are going to probably let you run at least somewhat on them, but while you're running, milking the clock, and trying to just keep moving the sticks, they're out there scoring. They're gonna get out there. They're gonna score their 30 plus points, and then they're gonna leave it to you, and they're gonna essentially make you need to throw the ball. Once you're down, 2 scores, 3 scores, especially in the second half, you can't just keep handing off the rock. So my personal best bet for this game is going to be the over 45.5. I think the Packers are going to get out there. They're going to use that bye week basically as a week to throw in some new kinks, some new wrinkles to their offense, something the Rams can't predict, something that even Sean McVay, as amazing as he is, can't really prepare for without seeing it beforehand. So I'm assuming they're going to come out here, light it up, score over 30 points, really just asking the Rams to score twice. And honestly, one of those could probably be a garbage time touchdown, especially if they end up getting down by 21, 28 points. I have a feeling the Packers are going to kind of take their foot off the gas, let the Rams score. So over 45.5 is really my play on that one. Um, I'm not touching the sides on this. I see either the Packers covering easily, or the Rams playing a perfect game and just winning by the slimmest of margins, but pulling off the upset. So it's really going to depend on how the run game goes and what Green Bay does to counter that run game. So, like I said, we're going to stick with the over 45.5 there. Next game, and this is really the one I feel most strongly about, is the Ravens at Bills game. Now, looking at my coaching grades, the Bills do have a 6 point coaching advantage, which typically means, as far as lines are concerned, that it should be about a 7 point, almost a touchdown swing. Um, I apologize. I'm sorry. That should actually be about a field goal swing. So the line is about right. The Bills have actually won 70% of the time when they're playing a heavy blitzing team, which the Ravens are a heavy blitzing team. They actually blitz over 40% of the time, but the Bills have found a way to counteract that. Now keep in mind, the 3 losses the Bills did have this year, all came against heavy blitzing teams. So I personally think those losses were more due to scheduling. If you kind of go back through the schedule from this year, they had some COVID interactions and some games moved, postponed, all that kind of stuff. And so I think those losses are really more attributed to that and just kind of a bad streak there than a blitz necessarily. But again, just something good to know. After that little 3 game stretch there, they did show me they know how to win. They know how to beat the blitz. They know how to move Josh Allen around. Josh Allen knows how to read the pre-snap defensive setup, but also knows where his hot read is at. Getting that ball out quick, not letting the pressure get to him. I I really don't see the Ravens being able to stop this Bills offense. They have a great run defense with Calais Campbell stopping the middle, but the Bills have not really made their money with the run game. So I'm thinking the Bills are going to do what they do. A lot of short left and right passing, which is actually where the Ravens give up a 98 quarterback rating, which is amazing. So the Bills should really feast on those little dink and dunk passes. Guys like Cole Beasley should really eat in this game. But aside from that, the Ravens, I don't have a lot going for them. The game is going to be taking place in bad weather. It's supposed to be cold, snowy, with 10 to 20 mile per hour winds, which that does favor the Ravens. Ravens have a 55% run EDSR, which is a success rate, meaning that most of the time they're going to gain at least 5 yards or more. When they run, the only thing is, if you're running, and again, we kind of get back to what we were saying with the Rams earlier, you can run and run and run, and yeah, you'll be moving the sticks, but you're really leaving yourself to just one mistake. If you get a holding penalty, you get really any sort of penalty that puts you kind of behind the markers there, or you have a fumble, you take a bad sack, something just doesn't work, even somebody just tripping, it really just sets back the entire offense if you're going to just continue to run so much and play this really tight margin of victory. Any little mistake can set you back and can cause you to lose. The last time these two teams played each other was back in 2019. The Ravens did win that game. They actually won by holding the Bills to 3 field goals and only 1 touchdown. Two things I would say about that. So one, that's going to be hard to replicate. Not impossible. It is going to be hard. The offensive coordinator, Dayball, which I'm sure you've heard of, Brian Dayball, he's hot name in the coaching scene now. Uh, right around the time that this game happened in 2019 is when he got moved up into the booth to start calling the plays instead of off the field, or on the field, I should say. That really helped their offense. So that's one thing the Ravens are going to have to kind of take into account. But secondly, the personnel set. So the Bills, their second base set is actually a 10 set, which is 4 wide receivers. The Ravens struggle against these multiple receiver sets. They actually allow over 80% successful play rates when they're going up against a 10 personnel set. So they have a hard time struggle to cover 4 wide receivers, even 3 wide receivers. A lot of the time, they just don't have the personnel to do it. They like to key in more on 1 or 2 guys. When you have that many receivers out there, it gives Josh Allen a lot of reads. A lot of short passes are going to come open if you blitz him, and if you don't blitz him and you kind of put everybody back in coverage, he's either going to kill you with somebody cutting across the middle, or he's going to just run it. So I think Buffalo's really at every advantage here that I can see. And I've said that before, and it's not been good luck. So by all means, feel free to fade me on this. But I'm thinking the Bills minus 2.5. We're catching the key number of 3. It's we're good there. Over under that the total is kind of harder for me on this one because 51 is a key number. So is 47. We're kind of right in the middle of that. I could see this going over. The only thing is with the wind coming into play, it's a little bit harder. It could also obviously go under. The thing is, if the weather doesn't play as big of a factor as we're thinking it would, the Bills should have a lot of points put up on the board. Baltimore can also put up a lot of points just because Buffalo won't stop them. They will eventually score almost every time they get the ball, or at least that's kind of what we're thinking here. So they could go down and score a lot of points. It's just going to take them a long time to do it. And again, it's going to be down to who makes a mistake first. But Either way, like I said, my best bet for this game is the Bills minus 2.5. Just straight up, I could see somebody taking the money line on the minus 145. It's not terrible. I personally don't like to go with anything over the minus 135 mark, but minus 2.5 at the minus 114 right now, so you're paying just a little bit of juice. But again, that's my best bet on that particular game, as well as really on the board. Uh, Next game we have is the Browns and the Chiefs. This one, honestly, I'm staying away from as far as betting is concerned. So the Browns do love to run the ball. They love moving the ball with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. It's really hard to stop them. The Chiefs have had a hard time stopping the run all year. And I think it's not so much that they can't. I think it's more by design that they let you run. Kind of like I've been saying this entire time, they will let you run because they know they can score in 2 minutes if they need to. So it's not really, it's not hurting them. If you want to run the ball and take your time and take half a quarter to score 7 points, but they can put up 28 points in a quarter, um, they're not really concerned with your running. So the Browns really could kind of put them in a bind if they're holding the ball enough to where the Chiefs just don't have the time. One other advantage the Browns have working for them though is that the Chiefs have struggled, and if you go back and you can look through the games here this year, they have struggled when teams can get pressure on Mahomes without having to bring a blitz. Teams like the Chargers that kind of played the Chiefs really tight earlier this year, teams like the Raiders who beat the Chiefs, they were able to get pressure on Mahomes without having to bring a blitz. And that's really, really something to take into consideration here because if you blitz Mahomes, he's going to beat you. He's going to find the open man. He's going to get his hot route, or he's just going to run. If you don't blitz him and you're able to get somebody in his face, you don't have guys like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce just left wide open in the middle of the field. You have these guys pretty well blanketed, but you're also going to be causing Mahomes to kind of move off his spot. So tough, tough game to handicap. I could obviously see the Chiefs winning this one. It's off a bye week. Andy Reid has just got an amazing track record when coming off a bye week. But again, it's not like Cleveland is inept here. They definitely have some players. They have a better coach this year with Kevin Stefanski. Could be a closer game than we're thinking. If I had to gun to my head, make a choice on this one, I would actually take the points with the Browns. But again, I'm not touching it. I have such a hard time betting against Mahomes, the Chiefs, and Andy Reid. So especially in their first playoff game this year after a bye week. So again, not touching that one. Lastly, and I'll make this quick here, is the Bucks versus the Saints. So the Saints have obviously won their two matchups this year, and when a team wins twice against an opponent and then meets that team in the playoffs, the last 7 times it's happened, the team that won the two regular season games are 5-2 against their opponent. So odds are they should be winning this game. To kind of drill down a little bit more on individual players, Mike Evans was a big part of that win last week, and he was really the guy, if you watch that game, that moved the chains when they needed to get a first down. The Saints are going to have Marshawn Lattimore on Mike Evans, and if you play fantasy this year, you know this is a bad matchup for Mike Evans. He really struggles against Lattimore. Lattimore excels against these big, strong, physical receivers. He gets all up in their grill, does not give them a space, doesn't give them the time of day to kind of get their bearings and catch the ball like they would typically have against other corners. So I don't see Mike Evans having a big game, and if he can get taken out of this game, and Tom Brady is reliant on big plays from Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin, who's also nicked up right now, I see that being a much harder game plan, and that's evidenced by the previous two matchups. Now, the Saints, this is the first time the Saints are actually going to be playing against the Buccaneers with Kamara, Breeze, and Michael Thomas all healthy. So they beat them the first two times, and they didn't even have all of their players really suited up and ready to go. Uh, Another defensive note here. So aside from Marshawn Lattimore, the Saints like to draw a lot of pressure up the middle against Brady. That's really where you want to attack him. That's where he struggled essentially his whole career, and really it's not just him, it's just quarterbacks in general. It's hard to get away from pressure coming directly in your face. In each of their last two matchups, the Saints got 3 sacks on Brady, and they forced him to throw 2 picks in each of their games. So, again, harder matchup for Brady. It's just a really bad mismatch here. The players on the Bucks struggle with specifically the Saints defensive players. One thing that I did notice last week is that the Buccaneers ran 56% of the time in the first quarter, which it's really odd because they have been actually calling their play calling has been 40-60, meaning 40% run, 60% pass this entire year, except for last week. So they tried to run the ball a lot more, and I don't know if that's going to continue moving forward. Obviously, all these coaches change their game plans as we get into the playoffs, but I do see that as a problem if they try to do that against the Saints. The Saints are amazing at stopping the run. Um, Bucks also struggled to stop the mobile quarterback Heineke last week, and it did maybe obviously they didn't were not able to win Washington, that is, but if they had just a really tough time um, containing him, and it seemed like every other time that they would maybe get a little pressure on him, Heineke got open for a big run or pass. If they couldn't do that against Washington, I think the Saints might be looking to use Taysom Hill here, just to get out of the pocket, kind of keep Drew Brees healthy, but also to throw off the Bucks because they seem to have a really tough time containing quarterbacks here. But that's just a hunch at this point. The two things I'll leave off here. So earlier I said teams that had won twice in the regular season and then meet up in the playoffs, they're 5-2 straight up. Those teams are actually only 3-4 against the spread. The difference here is with the 3-point spread, the number one and number two, as far as point differential, only show up in the NFL 8% of the time. So only 8% of games are decided by 2 points or less. So you have a 92% chance that they're either going to push or win here, or cover, that is, against the spread. But secondly, the over. So I like the over in this game as well as Saints -3. And the over 52, I say that because this entire year has been the highest scoring year on average in the NFL. Essentially as far back as I can see, which is back into the 1970s. That being said, last year, this divisional round saw a average score of 52.5 points. This is a 52, and I think this could easily go over. The first time these teams met up, they had a total of 57 points. Second time they matched up, it was only 41 points, but that was a game in which the Saints got up early and the Bucks basically threw in the towel at halftime. So I could see this one being a really high scoring game. Could end up being like a 40 to high 30 score somewhere. It's gonna be close. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout, but I do see the over and I see the Saints -3. So my official plays, especially if you're checking the website, which is aags.online, I do have the Rams over 45.5. I have Buffalo -2.5, and then I have the Saints -3. So those are my three official plays. Kind of discuss some other leans that I have, but good luck to everybody. Please feel free to comment with any questions, concerns, any notes you might have on the games I didn't cover, something you think all of us could find beneficial. Find me again at aags.online. Feel free to also find me at Twitter at FANTASY underscore FRIJOLE. Uh, Either way, hope you guys have a great weekend. Good luck, and everyone makes some money. Thank you again for checking out the video. Like and comment below.